$1 million. Do you have a gift to give?
That's not our expertise.
Do you have advice?
What can go wrong, maybe will.
I wish you could pick something from real sports, not baseball, but would you say you have perfect partnership?
I don't know that I can agree to that, Dimitri. Is that more money that you reinvest in your company, or is that more money that you just put in your pocket?
I'm like, that was genius. How many roofs did you guys do last year?
Somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500.
So you don't know the number?
Not exactly.
Not exactly.
No.
So 2,000 to 2,500 roofs.
Yeah, if we pulled the
What's the
number.
percentage between commercial and residential?
It's very,
Like,
very
I'm
high.
talking
on-
about flat versus shingles.
Okay,
Like,
man.
do you do a lot of flat?
No, like maybe
3%?
3%.
5%?
So majority of
Yeah.
your sales majority of your roofs is shingle
actually,
roofs.
it's
steep slope.
Steep slope.
It's even higher than that. I mean,
What?
I would be surprised if flat made
Well,
up.
we did actually. If you base it on revenue dollars, it's probably about 600,000 of what our revenue dollars are. So, of 24 million, so 24.5, whatever that number is.
Why is that? Answer me this.
So 2.5.
A lot of guys, especially who are starting and been in the game for a couple of years, everybody thinks that money is in the commercial. I see big trend where everybody's saying, "Wow, residential construction can make money," and everybody starts chasing elements like big roofs, like flat roofs, and you guys are killing it in a residential remodeling essentially. Why you are not chasing big flat roofs? I mean, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, they could be right. Maybe there is a lot of money in it. We just haven't. That's not our expertise.
Wow.
We've really just come up in the steep slope, and we've done obviously some flat, but it's just not
your specialty.
not
you're
our
focusing-
specialty, right?
We haven't processed that side of the business out, and therefore we haven't really. I think eventually we'll be in there, but just we've had good luck.
Do you have a lot of demand? Do you have requests for those jobs? Do people
We
call
do.
you?
We do have some.
And what do you
demand.
do with them? Do you lose them, or you just not closing
Just
them?
don't bid them.
You don't even bid them.
Not really.
No.
Wow.
No.
Do you feel like you're leaving a lot of money on the table, or just not worth doing something you don't understand? Because if you have leads, you can hire someone to bid them, do them.
Part B of that. If we just haven't processed it out to where we're comfortable. We want to leave a good taste in our customers' mouth. We want to keep the quality up and mitigate risk, I guess. And if we know what we're doing, I mean, we still land jobs. The biggest spot we run into in that is that on the commercial side or the new construction side, they want us to do the flat, the steep. And if we lose jobs because we only do the steep, there's times where we've done the 20 square flat roof because it had, 500 squares of steep slope. But all in all, we want to provide a good product.
It's not your expertise.
Yep.
Love it. What was the dollar amount last year? What did you do in sales last year?
24.5 million.
200.
Yep.
What's your prediction for this year?
Somewhere between 30 and 40 million.
Even with the coronavirus?
Right
Yeah.
now, I can tell you right now, currently, we're on pace for 34 million.
34. So Corona did not affect you much.
Well, I mean, it did affect us, but there's been a lot of, I guess, a little bit of luck that, come with it. I mean,
You call storms our luck?
I mean,
Is that the luck?
That's
or?
that's the luck. I mean, we didn't do anything amazing for that to happen,
Sure.
But it's been everywhere where we have a location. Not everywhere, but many of the places we have locations had something happen there. So we're actually having a pretty busy year.
In spite of the hail, though, I would say that there is a unique dynamic going on, because I think that like the same urge of people going to Home Depot during this pandemic is like high, right? Because they're like, oh, I got to fix this. I want to get my house projects done. We're cooped up, we're quarantined, we're, shelter in place, whatever. And people are like getting their repairs done. Well, I think that it almost triggered a thought that, oh, hey, we still need to get our roof done too. And I think that we actually had a little bit of influx of calls because of that, because people are slowing down and thinking about the property and what it needs to get taken care of.
Yeah.
What's number one secret of success you feel like you have in Apple Roofing? What led you to this growth?
Process.
That's exactly
Number
what
one
I'm saying.
process?
Yep.
What's
And
the process for you? Is it
Obviously, team is like, you
Sure.
know, it requires a team, but
yeah.
if we
What
had a-
kind of process and how did you set up your process? Is it your CRM? How did you come up with your process?
I mean, it's, I think, comprised of many things, but, you know, everything that, I mean, I know that you've followed Rodney Webb a little bit, and he talks about at some point, like, how McDonald's tries to turn out the same product every time, right? By following a set of principles. And that's what we've tried to do, is like create standards and then follow those standards, so that what we do is not only repeatable, but that the end product remains, you know, the quality that we want to put out. So I think that it starts with training, though. I mean, that's
Training your team to
Mhm.
follow the process,
Yep.
so people are not doing everything they think what's right.
I mean, I think that's why Dustin and I believe the W-2 model is a really good model for us, because we train all of our employees.
Let's talk about perfect size and different dynamics. What would you say the number? Where have you seen the best profit margins? At what size? Is it 7 million? I know yesterday we discussed the 7.5 was very brutal time. I know it's very hard for a lot of businesses to break the 7 million threshold. But what's the perfect size have you seen? I know we discussed with the last guest, Heath Hicks, and I agree with it that if you want to make the most money in this business, it's one owner operated, and I agree with it 100%. Up to 5 million, maybe 3 to 5, just a couple guys helping you, and you'll make the most because you don't have huge overhead, you don't pay out as much. So 3 to 5, you'll make the most money for least amount of effort. Now you start scaling, management team, everything adds up. Now you might be running 7, 8, $10 million business might make actually less than 5 million. So I know you've grown to 25 million now and want to do 34, but where you have seen the best margins?
I'll let you answer first, because we probably both have different opinions on that.
Yeah,
Sure.
that could be. I don't know. I don't recall off the top of my head like what our margins were at that size. I do know that, you know, when you don't have any overhead, of course, like there's an incredible amount of savings, right? By not having to have a facility or everybody working out of their home, you know, things like that. I think that the thresholds, like I told you, I mean, when we hit 7.5 million, that was the toughest year that we ever went through. You know, doing 20 million or, you know, 25 or 30 million is easier to me than doing that 7.5 right there, because what we come up against was that our processes weren't made to go bigger than that. And we had to fix our processes before we could increase in size. As far as, you know, profitability goes, I probably have a little bit of a hard time saying like where you're the most profitable. I'm thinking of a percentage, you know, of gross here when I say that. But the reason I say that is because we've always tried to like reinvest in the company so much that, you know, when we're trying something different or, you know, investing in something, it probably skews our numbers so much that.
Do you have the number for reinvestment, like every year? Is it a percentage, or is it just bulk amount, or you just at the end of the year you see how much cash you have and you just decide to spend? Do you have a number you're trying to reinvest?
We've
Well-
never budgeted it, if that's what you're asking.
So you don't have budgets?
No, I mean, when we come
Interesting.
to the end of the year,
Allowed?
Well, we budget, but we don't budget like how much we're going to put back
Reinvest.
in the company.
I see.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, when we look at the end of the year, obviously, you know, you talk to your CPA, right, and you look at, okay, what are we going to end up for a tax liability at the end of the year, and how can we reinvest, you know, maybe into our company to offset that, so that we can actually grow in the coming year. So that's one of the big like guiding principles that I would say we use is like what are the economics behind it, and you know what's our cash position in the company too. I mean, that plays a pretty big role on how much reinvesting we do and how experimental we might get, you know?
Well, I think to the same question though, like in my mind, as you ask that question, I would agree that when you're smaller and if you're a one-man operator, yes, you make more money, but is that more money that you reinvest in your company, or is that more money that you just put in your pocket? Because Dustin and I, we wouldn't be where we're at if we weren't a partnership, right? If it was him by himself and me by myself, we wouldn't be at the size we're at as quick, I don't think.
Would you say you have perfect partnership?
Oh, no, I don't think that's probably...
I don't know if there's like such a thing as perfect, but I mean, in reality, imperfect is perfect in a way. And so I say yes to that too, because we don't always agree on everything, and that's the good thing.
If you guys are enjoying our interviews and can get more of it, I want you to know we have more private content at our roofingschool.com. roofing-school.com. You can sign up just for $1.99. A lot of internet sensitive materials are there, including Apple roofing and some other interviews we've done in the past, materials and topics we can share on YouTube publicly for everyone. Things like how much these companies are paying to their employees and their salespeople. Things like what their profit margins, but they do share it with us. We do filter that information, those clips, and those parts of interviews and lessons going to be available only to our students at roofingschool.com. You can pretty much sign up for $200. There is no cancellation fee. There is no contract, cancel anytime. I promise you, if you invest $200 in it, you'll have your money worth the very first month. Hopefully you'll stay. If not, we're still going to be friends. I just want you to try it because we can't publish full interviews on the internet. Now let's go back to the interview. If you want to see a full version, check our school as well.
Right? Like we always say to each other, like if we start agreeing on everything, then we don't have any value to each other anymore, right? Because one of us needs to be like devil's advocate, so that we see both sides, you know, and we do a pretty good job of that with each other.
And not on everything. But to that point, like we pay each other as employees. So I have a duty as an employee, he has a duty as an employee. And so to that question, where do you make more money? Yeah, as an individual, I could probably make more money, but would we get to the same point as fast? Or do I just turn over people and I got to go train more people? Yeah, at 5 million, maybe as an individual, I make a lot of money, but it may have more turnover because we're not doing the growth. So am I just banging my head against the wall, turning people over? I would say that the most profitable we are is right now, the more we scale. Because if you're not making more money doing the same thing you were doing at 5 million, to me that tells you there's a flaw in the system. How are you not making the same percentage as you were at 5 million at 10 million? Because you're not doing anything different. You're just doing scale, right? There's something in your process that is not making you or allowing you to achieve the same percentages.
You're doing more. The reason, like for example, I'll give you example of Eric Reno. So out of Michigan, he does 5 million. He sells 3 million himself. So he doesn't have sales guys. He produces, manages, everything. He knows his process. Extremely profitable. But he has like one helper, one with production, and one sales guy who bring another like million or two. So very small operation, and a lot of owners, they don't want to give up, the roles in the company. They want to do it all. They want to control. So his reputation is good. Profit margins are good. He doesn't want to grow past 5 million. And I know a lot of guys who do 10 million. Or if he would grow to 10 million, now he has to hire more sales guys. So you have commission cost, you have more overhead. That's why 10 million for him probably going to make him as much money as 5 million doing it by himself. And he's comfortable with it. He doesn't want to grow. The point is, I've met a lot of 10, $15 million company who waive deductibles, who do things like the wrong way. Now they chase the numbers of sales, but if you talk about profit margins, it's as good as 5 million. So what's the point of doing all of that?
We talk about that all the time.
Well, I think I have a couple things to maybe add to that. Is one, if you're doing maybe a little bit less net, right? Like your percentage of net might be less when you continue to grow, but you start from a bigger number. That's one thing, right? One point. But the other thing is for us, I think that we're trying to like do the best that we can do by the customer, and by creating a company that doesn't really need him or I to operate, we know that it will like continue, right? Like our customers are going to be covered whether him and I are gone or here. So that's kind of a big deal for us. And then the other thing is beyond money, like Marcus and I really enjoy like the team atmosphere, you know, that we've had, and like every person that like we bring into it like just makes you love it more. Like we kind of have like a little inside saying that like it's fun to make money, but it's way more funny to make money with friends, right? Like
Love it.
that's one of the things that I think gets us going though, is like seeing people's lives improve, or like just seeing the camaraderie that, you know, comes out of the company. It's just really big deal.
I mean, the things that, just to name a few things that we've seen like in our career, like we watched one kid pay off $60,000 of college debt in 1 year. We watched a family of 5 that were doing 2 or 3 waitressing jobs, or, you know, go to paying off their truck, getting $60,000-$70,000 out of debt, buying a new home. Saw another family buy a new home that they never thought they were going to be in. Another guy, again, $25,000 in credit card debt, pull himself out of it, you know. I mean, things that people just thought they weren't ever going to see the end of the day, you know. And when you get those stories, and we take a company trip, and we have this, like, during that trip, we have a round circle, and we just talk about the year and reflect a little bit. And I mean, that's probably some of the most crying I've done throughout the years, because you don't realize the impact the company, not me, not Dustin, but the company as a whole, has put on that individual's life until they actually share it with you. And then you're sitting here going, I had no idea all year you were going through this.
Wow.
You know, that's why we're doing it. That's why we want career path growth. You know, these people have made this commitment to our company. It's kind of our commitment to them, is saying like, we're going to try to grow so that you can grow. And if we're not doing that, we need to get out of the way, right?
Let's talk about your company name, and how much do you feel like it contributes to your success? We talk at Roofing Insights about branding in general a lot. I always say that it's a huge part of business and success in general. Would you be successful as much as you are today if your name would be D&M Exteriors? Do you think you can grow a company to this side as far as recognition goes with generic?
I think it would be more difficult for sure, right? Because I think branding just makes marketing easier, right?
I agree 100%.
You have to dump way less money into your marketing if your branding is good. So, I mean, yes, I think it's been a big part of our success.
How did you come up with your name? What's behind Apple Roofing?
Well, Marcus said, I want the colors to be green when we were naming it.
What's with you in the colors?
Somewhere along the way, I'd read that green was like the most commonly used word, and that was like during like this 2007, 2008, when the Green Roof Initiative was going. You know, so the green recycle was coming around again.
And when Apple Roofing started, like when did you come up with the name and started the brand?
2011.
2011.
Yep.
So you've been in business for 9 years now?
Yep.
Okay.
So anyway, Marcus wanted the color to be green, which actually, I mean, that kind of played a big role too, because I call it color branding. I think it's referred to as,
sure.
You know, if you see even one of our trucks coming from quite a distance away, you already know what it is by the color.
Did you trademark your color?
Yeah, we trademarked our logo and everything. Yep.
But you know, like McDonald's and most brands, they even trademark that color.
Oh, okay. No, we didn't trademark
like
the color.
In the restaurant business, I don't think you can have like McDonald's yellow in here, like almost like something like that within those.
Oh,
like,
really?
It's almost like pigment. Yeah, you can brand color, like brand colors even. like it goes per industry. So
Right.
Yeah, we trademarked as far as we could. I know
Sure.
that. Now exactly what
How
the
many trademarks you have?
I don't know, 2 or 3 on the logo. It's some.
Right.
I'd have to go back and reread
Sure.
it, but we did trademark it.
Love it. Hold on. With all the branding efforts and with all the marketing efforts, what's your number one lead generation today? How do you get your leads mostly? What's number one source?
Referrals.
Referrals. So people see you working around, it's still referrals. They call you.
Yeah, I mean, we're really big on trying to obtain referrals, so that makes a big difference.
Do you pay for referrals? Referral fees?
We do actually, yeah.
He said no, you said yes.
We have a referral program, but I wouldn't say that's the bulk of how we got there. If
Sure.
That's true. We do pay for them if they go through our website. I think we've had like 3, maybe 4 people utilize it.
I
It's
see.
like really insignificant.
Interesting. How much do you pay? How much those 3, 4 got paid?
So we do $100 per referral if we sign the job up.
I see.
So
And people don't use it.
no, it's amazing, right? Like
We actually offered it to our own employees, and they don't even use it.
Wow, I know. It's weird.
That's-
Referrals say
it goes back to like convenience is king, right? Like it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe work to go in there and type it in. And so,
extra step.
and maybe it's not known about enough by the general public, right? I think the general public, like if they knew about it more, if we marketed it that better, we'd probably get maybe a little more out of that.
Probably.
So you've been in business for 9 years. Have you have any major thefts from you, like employees or
Well,
break-ins?
I would say the biggest thing that ever happened, like in line with that, was like we paid to have like this custom semi done,
I
right?
forgot. Yeah, like how did I forget that?
And so there was a company in Kansas City that was supposed to like build this custom semi for us, and it was going to be really cool, everything. And
like semi-truck, like a delivery truck?
no, it was going to be like what maybe you see SRS have at the tailgate, right? Like that it has slide outs and stuff like for entertaining, and we were going to do a mobile office at it and things like
I
that.
see.
But we had a lot of ideas for it, right?
Well,
Almost
you
like
know
a
who
show,
has
like
one?
RV
John
style?
Hotelling has one.
Yeah, John
Hotelling
Hotelling.
has one.
Yeah, it's probably a lot smaller than what we had in mind, but anyway, we paid $120,000 down to this, $123,000 down to this guy, and then he just like ghosted us, and we sued him, but he went bankrupt. So
So you didn't recover $123,000.
yeah,
You lost it.
gone. Yep.
And you have a judgment against him, but nothing you can do?
Yeah, I mean he went bankrupt. We're free and clear.
When was that?
2015,
Yeah, probably.
I'd say. Yeah.
Wow. You do buy a lot of equipment. I see your trailers. I see your boom truck. At what point in business does it make sense to invest in a boom truck? Actually, we have a question on the Facebook today.
Okay.
Like people just asking, does it make sense financially for a roofing company to have a boom truck, and what's the volume you have to have a boom truck?
I mean, I would say that if you're gonna be stocking your own material, and B, I think you need to probably plan on at least having the ability to move 50,000 squares a year.
50,000 squares a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you can,
That's your magic number for the boom.
I mean, that's where I would say that you can start making sense out of it. But I mean, I showed you peak pallets. And so, with a boom truck, that makes a lot more sense, right? And if we can't get something on the roof, there's charges, and labor that goes into getting it on the roof, and it's, not as safe to get it on the roof as a lot of ways that it could get
How
there,
much
right?
does it cost, boom truck that you have? Is it 100,000 plus?
The boom truck, how much does it cost?
Yeah.
300.
300.
Yeah.
I never priced them, so I'm way lower. Wow.
Yeah.
But our truck is, I mean, we can haul more than ABC can on one truckload.
I see.
So
Right.
it's got top of the line equipment. on
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things that like we think about as a business owner, is also what can go wrong, maybe will. So whenever we buy something like that, we get every single like safety feature like available, right?
Sure.
I mean,
You do,
that
right?
that thing is very much different than what your suppliers have in terms of technology. Actually, like that was one of the first ones to roll out, I think, with the CTC control. And they say it's impossible to tip that truck. I guess we can put it to the test, right? But
I'm pretty sure one of the employees can figure it out. Employees like to put it to little.
I saw the guy from Hiab try.
Really?
He was showing us. He had the back wheels off the ground.
Wow.
I was like, oh.
Who operates it? So you have in-house like delivery guy. Does he only operate that, or a few other pieces of equipment?
No, he only operates that. You have to have a certification to run a crane. So, that's really a position where we just want him to do as much of that as possible, right? Like
when did you started to stock materials here? I see you have a lot of ICO shingles over there.
Well, it's kind of morphed, right? Like into what it is today. Like
Sure.
Today we're doing full on, right, everything. I would say when we first started was probably in like 2013. We were, it was honestly like not even a good idea at the time. We were trying to like
What
save
was
money
your
on-
volume back then? How much were you doing?
And probably that was probably the 7.5 million that
Seven-
year.
That's I'd
So
say
if I would be doing 7.5 million and I would say, well, I want to stock my shingles, you would say it's not a good idea, don't do it yet.
Don't do it. Don't
So
do
what's the
well,
Well, I
and
mean,
I think we're
and-
still figuring some of that out. But
it. We are, yeah.
I mean, on the other side, just not the financial side. We've had some scenarios where we ran out of colors, or you couldn't get delivery for 3 weeks. Well, as a service provider, that's not very good, And we had a manufacturer run out of shingles a couple times on us, and so there was a
why
point
is
at
that?
which
Because they're shipping you elsewhere. Allocations.
Yep.
Too many storms.
And I mean, kind of where it started was when we couldn't get material on a roof, though. And
crews start leaving.
I mean, yeah, the crews would show up and be like, "No, walk off," and it was for a builder, and we were really feeling like, hey, we're not performing how we want to be performing, you know what I mean? And so I and another guy went over there to go load that roof. And after about, half an hour, I realized I wasn't as young as I used to be. So that, I think it was by the end of the week, we had a ladder vader truck, coming, and that was why. And that's kind of how it started.
So what's the number? 10 million, 15 million? When does it make sense to start stocking new material?
When it I think that's probably just varies on every company, because we don't know how people invest back in their company.
Sure.
We don't take a ton of money from our company. We run
So you keep it here?
we run an honest CEO, COO salary. We don't pay ourselves $300,000 a year. You know what I mean? So, at what point can they reinvest in the company? But then, we're still trying to figure out how to make it as efficient as possible to be able to answer that question probably fully, I would say.
We'll be able to tell you by the end of this year, how much it costs, much better than we can today, because I talked about, separating the companies yesterday, and that's exactly why we're doing that, is to make sure like one company isn't covering up for another company, or operation, right? Like that's a problem when companies get too big, is you can have mistakes and not realize it because the overall operation will just cover over it, right? It'll be band-aided over and you won't know. So that's why we try to keep it like small scale.
Well, I think that goes back to what he said earlier too. At what point is the most profitable? Well, I don't know. Are you covering up mistakes with money, or are we figuring out the kink, right?
Mm-hmm.
This one is a very interesting topic for me lately. I want to talk about business owners, and nobody likes owners. You probably have heard it before. I know I hear it all the time. Like, Dmitry, you're not a roofer. Like you should not be talking on YouTube about shingles. You're not a roofer. You if you own a roofing business, you're not a roofer anymore. Like I don't know what your status is, but people seems to like you a lot. What's your secret? How can you stay so humble and pay yourself so little and invest so much? What's behind your philosophy? Like, just want to get in your brain a little bit and see if you can share your secret. How to be a likable business owner in the roofing business, because nobody likes us.
I would start by saying that we've always thought about ourselves as an employee. We don't really like come to work thinking of being an owner. We have a duty to the company in the same way that everybody else does, right? So
What's your duty? What do you do?
well, I'm the CEO, but I also take care of like marketing. Any legal stuff that comes up, I deal with. We have our roles, and we have to fulfill those roles. And I mean, a lot of that is just camaraderie within the company too, right? Like keeping that morale high, and I don't really know. I mean, why should you be arrogant or proud or treat people any different? I mean, I'm not a genius, and Marcus ain't a genius. I mean, it's really like all of the people here, like the team, that makes it so strong. It's not because like we're a couple geniuses sitting here, by no means,
One thing I think we do though is we pull people's energy. Like you probably get energy from something, right? Like more energy than you do doing this. And so we try to fill those gaps. Like what do you get energy from? What is that? And let's put you in that role, right? And then another thing, we come from a small town. We grew up in a town of 8,000, both of us, and we've been friends since we were like 6 or 7. So I can probably say something to him that maybe some people wouldn't say, and I can be me. But Dustin really grew up on the roof. It all started with him shingling hundreds of roofs. I don't have near the experience on the roof as he does. I went to the ABC side and sold the shingles and that side, and we come together. I think that probably helps some of our humbleness, is that we both pretty much come from families that were
Regular Joes, right?
Regular people. I mean, I didn't get basketball shoes, football shoes, but track shoes. I got to pick one.
Wow.
And I think he grew up the same way. We were modest and lifestyles and worked our way through it. So we weren't used to a lavish lifestyle. Not that we were poor by no means, but
Sure.
I think that helps. And then we developed all these people and started becoming emotionally connected to them. And I mean, if you go back and look, like Brian is our director of sales. He's been with us since day one,
Wow.
and he's from the same hometown.
Let me ask you about inequality, like money inequality in the roofing industry. Where's the most opportunities are? Because some people argue a lot, especially in different forums, that it's almost became impossible to make money like installing roofs, and you almost have to be like in sales. There's a lot of beef I see between crews and sales guys and business owners. It's like 3 different categories of people, and crews are saying, well, those guys don't do anything. They just push paper. They don't do the work. They go sell the jobs, and they subcontract it all. And I see where hate is coming from, but I always argue that you can make really good money installing roofs. You can be a great crew leader. You can make easy, $100,000 a year if you're working hard. You can be great at sales guys, and if you run a business, not always you're going to make more money than sales guys or crew. You have greater risk. I've been a business owner for the first couple of years. Some of my crews made more money than I did, because like you, I'm reinvesting money back in the companies. I didn't pay myself much. But where do you see opportunities in the roofing industry, and can the crew leader make as much as business owner or sales guy? Is it true that all money in sales? Like even within your company, where do you see? I'm not saying that give me the numbers, but is it possible for crew leader or installer to make how much installer can make?
Go ahead.
I would always say like every position and how you're compensated for that is like really dependent on how much value you're bringing. So like absolutely can any position make as much as another, in my opinion, because you just might need to figure out how to scale that position, you know. So if you're an installer, you can scale the installation business and you could make as much as anybody else. If you're in sales and you scale that sales cycle, you know, you could make as much as anybody else. You see, honestly, like how many business owners actually make it past the first 2 years?
Why do you think they fail?
Well, I would say that they didn't probably handle the money correctly.
Mismanage money.
Yep.
Every time.
Every time.
Well, I mean, that's maybe
or
not
an
every
unfortunate
time, but
event. You could have an unfortunate event, right? Like somebody car wreck crushed you or something.
there could be, you know, other reasons, but I mean, that is definitely like a huge obstacle to overcome. You know, when people start a business, a lot of the time they like are having big visions, and that's good. You know, that's not a bad thing, but you need to keep the vision in the company and out of your personal life, probably, right? Because too many times when people actually start getting, you know, to feeling some success, they pull that money out and want to reflect it maybe in their personal life, and they would really benefit from, you know, delayed gratification, I guess. You know, don't buy the boat or the sports car or whatever else you're thinking about.
Sure.
Put yourself on a salary and stick to it. Then live within your means on that. You know what I mean? If you can bring enough value to your company, then you can give yourself a raise at some point, right?
I worked for Dustin previous to us at opening Apple Roofing. I made more money working for Dustin than the first 4 years of my salary as an owner.
I have the same. I paid
Right.
my production managers more than I paid myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's what happens. I think that's where you have a lot of in our industry specifically, we have these people the sales reps that break off and they start their own company. Well, they were used to making their $80,000 to $140,000 a year as a sales rep, right? Mm-hmm. And they leave and they think they're going to contain that. Well, there's a lot to run in a business that people don't realize, and expenses that
Hidden cost.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
But to your point, I think that every segment, labor, the crew leader, the sales rep, the owner, everybody has a great opportunity to make a lot of money. Our sales reps have the opportunity to make more than the branch manager.
True.
But we've taught the branch manager how to scale so that he can have several people under him. So, I mean, even when we were in sales, how do we become more efficient at what we're doing? Is that because we bought an iPad? Is that because we figured out how to process our own selves out to be more efficient so that we can do more roofs, right? Because it's just a numbers game in every category it is. Did the crew leader figure out how to train this guy to become a foreman so he can go start 2 crews?
Sure.
And I think that, I mean, and then everybody's got to have a beginning.
We really have it set up in our company, though, that any position can really out-earn their boss. Okay? The only way that their, I guess, you know, boss can make more money in them is if they are scaling what they're doing, right? But should a sales rep make more than a sales manager? He should have that ability every time, you know?
Sure.
And I
He's
think,
talented.
I mean, as it comes up, I think it should be that way. But that's where, you know, that scaling factor, I think, has to come in, you know, where you get paid for the value you're bringing.
Tell me how you organize your crews and how your relationship with the crews is set up. Like subcontract base.
Okay, so most of our crews are subcontracted.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have an in-house crew, but I mean, that's a very small part of the business.
And the reason
It's-
for it is just because of the
they do like some
work
of the
comp
specialty
or-
work more, you know, like higher skilled stuff, and then also like new construction. They'll do.
is
some
it
new
possible to
construction.
have employees?
Oh yeah, yeah, I think so. I think it's harder and harder to find though. People-
Easier to subcontract. In cruise, is it true that they don't like full control? Like they don't want to be accountable? Maybe they like their freedom to work, because there's also a big argument in the industry is that we're abusing crews and we pay less and less. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like we pay more and more. Like in most markets, the price goes up, just like with the shingles, it doesn't go down. But I don't feel like it's us as a business owner who set up those, price. The market will adjust essentially
Right.
the price. But I see the crews don't want to. They don't want to be trained almost. They just want a work order, go do the job, and that's it.
I mean, when you actually break down what a crew makes, people are shocked, right?
Exactly.
Like they do
really good money.
They do pretty well. I mean, I think that like most people aren't making as much as they are, right? In America, I think they're in the upper percentage.
Especially
Right.
if you take the window of time they make their money.
True.
Right? Yeah. Like I'm talking like an hourly rate, right? Like they're not.
The
maybe-
opportunity is
they might
definitely
not be
there.
in the 1%, but they're in the 5, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I mean, their opportunity is definitely there. But
It is hard
to
work.
have it's hard work, no doubt. But the stigma, I don't know that I can agree to that, Dimitri. Like we have crews that have been with us the whole time that we've been
Same here.
using for the whole 9 years we've been in business. So I don't know if it's just maybe the way they treat their crews. I don't know, but
Well, I'm talking more about Roofing Insights community. The stuff that I see, like in our group, we have a group of 2,000 people in the Roofing Insights private group. And every time we talk about marketing and business, I have like crew leaders or guys, or usually is the one who try to run the business, but he's a sub, so they still work with their hands, and they just so negative about like what's happening to the rates, how much crews are getting paid. And I'm like, well, you can build, Apple Roofing out there, you can build a solid brand and charge more, but you still will probably pay what you're getting paid for the labor work. Like labor market sets the price. It's not a business owner who say, I'm not
That's
gonna
right.
pay more than 75.
right.
If you have 10 crews charging 75, you're not gonna pay crew number 11, 95. It's the market. And if you don't like the rates, you're more than welcome go and run a business if you think
Well,
you can
and
do it.
provide a service so people want to pay more. What is
Exactly.
that service? What, right? Like,
well, right. I think if a one of those gentlemen or gals that maybe have that line of thinking, I think they maybe need to think about how can I become more valuable where I'm at, right? Like, what can I do that's extra and beyond that people would pay me more for?
That's right.
Or how can I continue to scale what I'm doing? One of those things, you can either do more of what you're doing or you can get paid more for what you're doing. And somebody is going to revolutionize that, right? Like it could be any one of them that might be watching this, right? They might have an idea going, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this and I'm going to be worth more because of it,
it's capitalism.
right?
Yep. Absolutely. No, I agree. Just crews often start counting money, and they know there's going rates, and it gets in their head. Like I'm getting paid $75, but they're making $75, and they're not doing the work. But they don't see what we're doing. They don't see what's behind Apple Roofings and my company and other companies.
Well, I think that's probably like the bane of us all, right? Like
Yep.
everybody wants to look towards like somebody else, what somebody else is doing, and if you really want to be the best at like what you're doing and make the most money, I think the closer you can get into your own lane and be the best in that space, the more money you're going to make, no
I
matter
agree.
what you're doing.
I would say this. If you're a subcontractor doing roofing in this industry, it's pretty simple. Go look at what the competition is doing. It's pretty easy in our markets. We get hail, right? Go look at what all the competition's doing and do something they're not. It's that simple.
Yep.
Like
I have a lot of ideas of what I'd do.
Me too.
Right?
If I was running the crew, I'd have 100 of them because I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing. And
There's
the
a lot of
the
opportunities
number
there.
one thing is in our industry is cleanup. Is like one of the worst things, right?
Yep.
That's a good place to start. So when people don't have complaints with you, they are more willing to pay a little more, right? I mean, that's just how it is. But on the other side, we have the market, and it keeps us all in line.
We have a lot of applicants for subs, like all the time. Like people walk in, and we add them to the board, and people are like, "Are you looking for crews?" I send them to production manager, to try whatever, get in line. So we have a big list, but then we have this one crew, this one guy who came in, and I when he left, I told everybody it was genius. And this is advice: if you're a subcontractor, if you wanted to have more jobs and big companies to give you work, here's what you do. Here's what this guy did. He came in our office with like the kid was probably like 2 months with a little car seat, 2 months old baby. So he walks in, and when you look at it, the hard working man walking with a 2 weeks old baby, walking to the office and looking for work, like, how can you say no to that? So if you don't have a child, go borrow one. I mean, would you turn down the hard-working man asking for work who just had a baby? I'm like, that was genius, to walk in the office, not to find a babysitter, like, hey, I'm gonna go, but actually grab a baby, walk in the office and say, oh, are you guys hiring crews? I mean, I'm like, that's genius. That's doing something a little bit.
Yeah, that's definitely a little outside what I was thinking, but yeah.
I mean, I think if somebody was really committed to this, they should go walk into whatever company they want to be a part of and say, what's your pain points right now in production, right? Like, find out what they are, you find the solution for that, and then go back and tell them how you're going to solve it. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody can solve problems for somebody, they get real valuable. They'll pay more.
I think the dynamic of that is we have sales reps that leave companies and start their own companies, right? And you have crew guys that leave crew leaders and start their own roofing. So if the money wasn't there, why are they doing that?
Yep.
It's I don't know, it's capitalism. I think it's the best thing ever.
Give one advice to someone who is brand new in business, just getting started. One advice. First thing that comes to your mind.
Well,
Who's just going on their own.
Brand new on their own, take a lot of action. Like that's where you're at right now is just lots of action. That would be my number one
Like
advice
what kind
for
of action?
a new.
Just like throw you out there?
Getting known, right? Like, who can I find that, right? Like, you're only one person when you begin, right? So, like, what can I do to get myself more known? So I would think of, okay, who's an influencer? I want to influence them so that they can influence the people that they influence about me, right? So, like, go find, your real estate agents or, other people that influence a set of other people and start making sure they know who you are and what you do, right? Do a massive amount of that, and that is, going to give you, I guess, like a leg up, right? Because you now have other people spreading the word. If you try to spread the word for yourself the whole time, like if you're just going to door knock or whatever, it's going to be, you're only going to do as much as how hard you work, right? Like, it's great to get other people talking about you and your brand.
Absolutely. Do you have advice?
Mine would be quality.
Quality.
Focus on the person that's right here, not the next one. Treat everybody with the most quality and customer service you can. The rest of it will take care of itself.
Love it. Absolutely love it. If someone starts brand new roofing business today, how fast they can earn $1 million, or save, or whether it's value in assets or cash in the bank? $1 million. Is it
Like,
1, 2, 3?
like profit?
Like profit.
Okay.
When they would worth $1 million. So if I start today,
Net worth 100 or 1 million.
Yeah.
And what are they starting with in capital?
$20,000.
20,000?
So you have $20,000 to start brand new roofing business. Will it take you 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you think?
5 years.
I was
5
going to
years?
say 5 years, and that's ambitious.
That's ambitious.
That's ambitious with, you know.
I'd say 5 years.
5 years. Good answer. Good insight. What was the one simple decision that had the most impact on your growth? If you can look back and maybe, can you find or remember one thing that you made decision, could be switching to something, or that really helped you?
I mean, when I look back personally, I don't know if Marcus feels the same way as I do here, but when I look back, I think that, you know, we decided to like, now I'm thinking of two things.
That's fine. Two is
okay,
fine.
I'm going to go with two here,
Sure.
right? One was that, and this was Marcus. Marcus really wanted to get like some sort of like CRM system that we use, right? And the decision to do that has allowed us to be able to scale, right? The second thing that I was going to say
What
was
year did you start implementing CRM?
2012.
Okay.
The second thing that I think, you know, to me made a big impact was, you know, starting to try to like open up your mind and, you know, your circle and put yourselves around like other people that are either, you know, coaching or having success or whatever, right? And I think one of those people for us was Rodney Webb. I mean, he talked a lot about process. And I know that Rodney Webb teaches like a system, and
Sales system.
we don't really fit in the Rodney Webb box of the sales system, but he has a lot of great like information and advice, I think, for a business owner. And we share a lot of those beliefs, I think.
The conceptually, like
Right.
I mean, Rodney, John DeRosa, Jim Johnson. I mean, everybody has something good to say.
Sure.
Everybody.
Right, yep.
So
And I think-
CRM and sales process.
Well, I think what he was saying is the open-mindedness, right?
Yeah, like just
Stop
whether-
being thinking
whether-
you know everything. Right?
Yeah, maybe don't get like sucked into like going to a sales conference, you know, but if you're going to go to a roofing conference, you could actually gather some great data, right? Like I know some people might get into, you know, sucked into like sales conferences or like growth conferences or whatever that are maybe not even in our industry. And I don't, from my observation, see those people like come out with actionable things they can do. But when you are actually going to something very specific to our industry, you're going to pull one or two or three great ideas out of there, right? Like, and the key is not to keep it an idea. Like, you got to do something with it, right? Like, you have to go turn it into action instead of just having the good knowledge, right?
Love it. Do you have marketing budget?
Well, no.
How much do you spend on marketing?
0.02, I think, of
Last
a
year?
percent of revenue is like what last year was.
0.02.
Yeah.
Of a percent.
Wow. So all of your efforts and spending are in branding then? Do you do trade shows? Do you do Facebook marketing, Google?
Well, now this year is the first year that we're exploring, you know, more Facebook stuff, Google stuff. Like, we've never paid for a Google ad before.
Sure.
So we're trying some of these things out, and I'm gonna, you know, start seeing what the ROI on it is, right? Like,
Sure.
we've just never tried it. So we'll see.
Interesting. So all your spend is pretty much branding, vehicle wraps. So you have 60 vehicle wraps, so everybody's driving around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I see door stickers, just brand awareness in general, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to one of your first questions. Does the brand matter? Absolutely.
Yep. So that's why you don't spend a lot on marketing.
I think
Because you
another
spend
thing.
a lot on branding.
Well, we've heard, like, we did do a home show one year, and I was standing at the booth, and a gal walked up, you know, from a town maybe 50 miles away from here, and she said, you know, when we come to Lincoln, our kids play a game to see who can spot the first Apple truck,
Wow.
because they see one every time, right? Like, or they see multiple of them whenever they come. So I thought that was like a really,
It's very cool.
like,
It's like
cool.
slug bug, you know?
right, yeah, right,
Absolutely love
punch
it.
them in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Well, let's do something special for our awesome following, our subscribers. You have a gift to give?
Yeah, we had a Kansas City Alex Gordon signed bat, hat, and ball, I believe.
Okay.
So we thought we'd do a giveaway of this and see who can win it.
Absolutely. And you also mentioned you would mentor that person, or maybe a couple hours of
Yeah, I think
phone call
if somebody
needs
thought
help.
that we could benefit them, we would definitely include a couple hours of just a little mentoring, to maybe see if we can identify one thing in their business that
to help
they
them
could
grow.
maybe turn around and rocket them off to maybe a little bit better
Awesome.
path, right?
So I will let you pick a winner from somebody in comments below. What do they have to do? What do they have to comment?
I can't remember what we decided. Dimitri, remind me.
Sure. Marcus actually going to pick a winner from someone in comments below. What you have to comment, Marcus? What's that?
So the best like team building activity or cultural event that you ever done that you felt left the biggest impact on your company.
Or team building idea in
Yep,
general.
yep.
Even if you haven't done it, but you think it's very cool, comment below. Marcus will pick up a winner and we'll give away. I wish you could pick something from real sports, not baseball, but that will do it. And also they offer their mentorship if you need one. Well, thank you guys so much for your time, for your interview. It was absolutely awesome, guys. Comment below what you think. If you have any questions, we read all our comments, we engage. And if you want to win our amazing prizes today, comment below.
Thanks, Dimitri.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it.